You're listening to 91 Reasons, a journey into the twisted landscape of pop culture. Keep your hands and arms inside the podcast at all times. And now, the voice, Jeff Tucker.
Yes, from out of the shadows, it's lurking. It's coming for you. The Dark Knight, the hero that fights in the city. No, not Batman. It's Homestuck. It's Andrew Hussey. It's Andrew Hussey dressed as a superhero, flailing off buildings to bring you Homestuck in a single bound. Welcome to 91 Reasons. My name is Jeff. I'm here with as always, my Homestuck experts who are
Austin, Luna,
and we're going to delve into episode 7 of our continuing adventures in the Homestuck MS Paint universe. We hope you're enjoying it. We certainly are really excited to see the amazing numbers and the amount of countries. I think I have opened every show with that, but it does bear repeating that the reach of this show and the power of the Homestuck fandom is enormous. So if you're a kid somewhere, a young man, a young woman, and you are or gender neutral, and you're sitting alone in your room reading Homestuck, and you think, oh my God, nobody gets me. Nobody understands me. I'm the only one like me around. Just know that hundreds, if not thousands of people all over the world download this Homestuck-themed podcast so that they can listen to us three dorks talk about this thing over and over and over again, and know that you are not alone. That if you were into this fandom, you are not alone. And you should be, you know what, get a part-time job after school, before college, whatever it takes. Save up some money and go to a big convention. There are big cons everywhere. And you will, I'm telling you, you will find that magic moment when the doors open. You've got your badge, you've worked hard on your horns, or you got them off of What Pumpkin, and you've got your We Love Fine themed Hussey approved t-shirt, and you're walking through the con and you see all the Spider-Man guys and all the Deadpool guys, and then just know somewhere at that con, somewhere there are so many Homestucks, you will never feel alone again. And if you think I'm kidding, go on YouTube. Go on YouTube and search cosplay videos. We were just looking at, what convention were we just looking at?
Anime LA.
Anime LA, ALA 2015. And yes, everybody's dressed as Final Fantasy and Pokemon and Sailor Moon and all the others. But if you look in the background, what do you see in the background?
About 50 Homestucks all grouped up in one area.
They're all grouped up. They're all staring at the camera going, is he going to film us? I don't know. We should get out of here. So they are everywhere. They are just to the left, just to the right of all the people dressed as Anna and Elsa and Olaf. And what did we see in that video? Slave girl, Princess Leia, Elsa, slave Elsa. Like, oh, ugh. But there are, and the ones we saw in that video were completely done up all the way with gray paint skin, which is your dream, Austin, right?
Horns,
Zodiac T-shirts. Describe, I know we've gone into it before, but there may be some new listeners who've just stumbled onto this. Describe your dream convention costume, your cosplay.
That would be probably Cockhat, because he's my favorite troll, but a troll cosplay with the full gray paint, the fully done up hair, professionally made horns, the yellow painted nails, the darkened eyes, the Zodiac T-shirt fully accurate to the comic in comic accurate colors, even the shoes exact. Like, I would love to have a complete comic accurate cosplay with the correct makeup.
Now, okay, I understand that. I get that you want to live the Homestuck as a lifestyle. We've talked about that before. But are you willing to make the sacrifices that a cosplay like that brings? That's my question to you.
What sacrifices?
Well, you see the people in the big elaborate costumes. And if you're talking about covering yourself head to toe in gray paint, that's an elaborate costume. And guess what those people do?
What?
They just stand there all day taking pictures.
They're not on the floor.
They're not in the con. They don't have a bag of goodies you see those people with their bags of goodies, but it's not the ultimate cosplayers who do that.
Yeah.
The big cosplayers are in costumes so elaborate, so delicate, so intricate that they have to stand out front. Like the guy at WonderCon who was dressed as Dark Knight Batman, who had the Bat Pod. He can't go into con. Who's going to watch his motorcycle? Or what was the one at Blizzard World that had BlizzCon that had everybody going crazy? Remember that was a giant monster woman that no one had ever seen before. It won every award, but that woman was like, "I get to stand here."
You can't possibly walk on the show floor.
No, and if you're covered in gray paint from head to toe, nobody wants you in their booth. Nobody wants you rubbing on T-shirts. You can't pick up comics and go, excuse me, sir, how much is this, what did you ask that guy? What Star Trek figure was it?
Oh, that was so many years ago.
Yeah, what was it? At San Diego Comic-Con.
Like Comic-Con 2009. It was the Keeper from the Nika line.
Yeah, and you're like, excuse me, sir. Like, you couldn't do that in gray paint. Because the first thing he would say is, A, you can't afford it, and B, you're getting gray fingerprints all over it.
Yeah.
So are you willing, would you trade the experiences of being on the con floor, getting all the freebies, standing in lines, would you trade that just for a con that consisted of social interactions? Because that's what it would become.
I have no idea. That is something to think about.
Well, yeah, that's what the show's for.
What if I used arm sleeves?
Well, if you do anything but makeup, you're fine. But I know that your dream is to gray makeup up yourself, and if you do that, you're stuck.
Yeah.
You're really stuck. I'm trying to think. We've seen some cosplayers who do the full makeup, and then they walk around, and all it does, it cracks, they sweat, people bump against them. Like the Silver Surfer guy. He's covered head to toe in silver paint, and he can't really do anything but be the Silver Surfer.
Yeah.
He has a little tiny, pouch for holding his money and his ID, and he has a surfboard. He's not there for con exclusives. He's not there for shopping. He may have to go home to eat. His costume is so elaborate.
Yeah.
So would you be willing to make that kind of con sacrifice in order to look good?
I don't know. I wouldn't want to give up the whole con experience. The best part of the con is going around the floor and meeting everyone and shopping and going to panels.
Right, but you wouldn't be giving it up. You'd be trading it for a different con experience.
Yeah.
Instead of you going out to visit the world would come visit you. The Homestucks would line up. If you had an elaborate, in the Homestuck realm, what's the most elaborate costume?
I've seen the Bec Noir.
The Bec Noir.
There's
they're both
Now, didn't we see a Dirk Bot at a con?
Yes.
There's a Dirk Bot that's got a fully modeled robotic outfit and their own voice changer they made for themselves. And then there's...
Okay, so you've seen the Dirk Bot.
Yeah.
And is it a girl or a guy? Doesn't matter. It's just Dirk Bot.
Robot.
So you've seen Dirk Bot. That cosplayer has to basically just exist as a cosplayer at the con. There's no getting in line to get the Hasbro exclusives.
They sat around Shifty looking
I was about to
They never
say.
left that area.
Exactly.
They never saw them go over to the con.
They just hung out at the
They got
Homestuck
on
meetup.
the Tumblr page and stuff for our Homestuck, but they never.
Would
never
you
went to the con.
would you like to be on the Tumblr Homestuck but not go to the con at all?
Oh, that's a hard choice to make.
Yeah. Well, that's the question of the week.
I don't know. I really don't know how to answer that.
Tough call, huh?
Yeah.
Have you ever, when you're thinking about your costuming, your cosplay ideas, have you ever factored that in?
Well, I need to start factoring that in because remember when I made the Zilly Who?
Yeah.
And I didn't even factor in the fact that I have to carry that around the con all day.
I told you when you walked out the door with it, I said you're not going to want to carry that.
Well,
Luke went as a Ghostbuster one time. For an hour, he was the greatest looking Ghostbuster. And then the rest of the 10 hours, the Ghostbuster pack hung on the stroller. Well, you were dressed as an Ewok.
I was an Ewok?
Yeah, you were an Ewok.
How
I know.
young was I?
You were 3 or 4.
Oh my god.
Yeah, 3 or 4. So let me ask you, Luna, what you were talking about more cosplays that were too intricate. Besides the Dirk Bot, what would be something else?
There's a Bec Noir, and he's a character who got half molded with a wolf, so he's got like a wolf's full head, snout, and everything. Most people just paint up a furry mask, But there's a guy out there who has a fully animatronic one. The mouth fully moves.
It
It
blinks.
blinks. It lights up. All this crazy stuff.
He also has wings.
Full-size wingspan. Other than the tiny ones most people do.
Yeah. How much you think that cost him?
I don't know.
You think he's listening? Are you listening, Wolfman? What's the character's name?
Bec Noir.
What?
Bec Noir.
Bec Noir. Well, if you're listening, Bec Noir, we want to know
How
how
much-
much your costume costs.
How much time did it take?
Yeah.
And what's it like standing just for pictures and socializing as opposed to because when we go to a con, it's a breakneck journey to get as much free stuff and exclusive as we can get.
Yeah.
I don't know if we would know how to exist at a con otherwise.
Yeah.
Although to some degree we don't do that at Kamikaze because there's not a lot to get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've noticed a trend with the past few cons. It's always been the same routine. Walk the floor and load off freebie bags. Except for Kamikaze. Every Kamikaze, I'm at the Homestuck meetup the whole time.
Right.
The only exception was the 2013 Comic-Con, where I never went in the convention floor. Just because the Sifty Look area was so amazing. There was
Well,
so many
they
Homestucks
they
there.
had created a Homestuck home away from home up there. I mean, Hussey was there.
Yeah.
All day.
So
Just-
of course,
Yeah.
and it was the first time you saw the merchandise.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty pivotal
Yeah.
moment in both of your fandoms.
It was only a few months after I read it.
That was the
Yeah.
first time we
Read
had
it
gone
in
to a
April,
con with
that was that
Homestucks.
July.
And I think people who listen around the world are probably irritated that you started started reading Homestuck, and then a few months later you're in line to meet Andrew
Yeah,
Hussey and get his
yeah.
autograph. He signs your poster. He draws you a picture.
People
He
who-
signs your scale mate.
Been around since the Promise Loop days 8 years ago, and like they're never gonna see him. He's not even in the country.
Hold on a sec. Can you stop sharpening pencils during our show?
I'm making a Homestuck cosplay.
We don't care about your Homestuck cosplay. The guy, no, no. But the Homestuck mom here is sharpening a pencil during the show to make a Homestuck shirt for WonderCon, and Jane Crocker, which we would say, that's great, but you've got 23 other hours in the day besides our show to do that in.
I'm keeping in theme. I'm going to make my shirt while you guys are talking about the show.
Okay.
So I think at this moment we should talk about Starbucks Frappuccinos then. What's your favorite? My favorite's Java Chip.
Yeah.
The
Java
peppermint
chip-
one that's only available at Christmas time. Why is that to be seasonal? Why?
It's not seasonal if you're willing to pay for the extra syrup.
I'm not willing to pay for that.
And the only reason we even bring up Starbucks like that, because Starbucks in the last few years has become a huge part of our convention going.
Yeah, we always get a Starbucks.
Oh, it's not a con if you hadn't got a Starbucks in you because you get energized, it tastes good.
And the best part is you can tell them the name of your cosplay and they'll put it on the side of the cup.
That's it. I didn't even think about that. So you were having them put Homestuck names on the
Yeah,
Starbucks cup.
I had a Tavros coffee cup.
It said Tavros. The lady's like, what do you drink? Oh, pepper. What do you drink during the summer?
Just the generic, the cheapest.
Coffee frap.
Coffee frap.
Coffee frap at the bar for Tavros. Tavros. And the funny part is like 5 guys are like, oh, that could be me. What name did you have on yours?
I was Jake then, I think.
Jake from Adventure Time, right?
No, Homestuck.
Oh no, Jake.
Oh.
Jake English.
Jake English.
Yeah, Jake English. Yeah. I was always Marty for Marty McFly, which is not Homestuck, but sorry, I got to keep it real. So,
Rose is Doc Brown.
what do you mean Rose is Doc Brown?
That's a quote from the comic. Dave goes on this rant about his time traveling powers, like Back to the Future, and Rose is Doc Brown, I guess. It stopped making sense.
So there's even a Back to the Future reference
Yeah.
in the Homestuck
Because
world.
Ryan North.
Just one? Or is Ryan North a big Back to the Future
Yeah,
fan?
He's a huge Back to the Future
He
fan.
wrote B to the F,
Yeah.
which you need to read right now if you haven't. He wrote a commentary on the Back to the Future novelization. Page by page. Every page of the novel has a full 2-page. It's huge.
Ryan North's breakdown of the novelization is longer than the novelization.
It is. It's colossal.
It has interactive games and everything.
He did a whole Homestuck parody
Yeah.
partway through.
Hussey's not as big of a fan. There's only 1 or 2 Back to the Future references here or there.
But
Well-
Ryan North's a big Back to
Ryan
the Future
North's
fan.
a
big
fan.
Now, do you know how old Andrew Hussey is?
He's 35.
So he would have only been 5 when Back to the Future came
Yeah.
out. How old is Ryan North? Is he older or younger?
I don't know. I don't know his age.
I would
I'm gonna
wager
send him
that he's older if he's that into Back to the Future, because all of us Back to the Future wackos, we're pretty close in the same time frame. Because I read an article once that said your favorite movies that mean the most to you probably came out when you were 13 or 14. And I was like, oh, that's ridiculous. Back to the Future came out when I was 13? Well, that's silly, because Breakfast Club would have come out when I was 13. Well, that's just silly, because, I mean, it's not like Goonies came out when I was 13. And it goes on and on and on. If I go into 14, the list grows even more, because it includes Howard the Duck. And Howard the
Ryan
Duck.
North wrote the comics for it.
Ryan North wrote Howard the Duck comics.
Yeah, they just did another Young Avengers comic line, and the bookend is all Ryan North does Howard the Duck.
He writes Howard the Duck.
Have you read it, or have you not seen it?
That one's not. It's a really weird Marvel spin-off. They don't stock it as much as Adventure Time or.
Would you be interested in reading that because it's Ryan North or because it's Howard the Duck? Neither or both.
It's both. Ryan North writing Howard the Duck.
Now you met Ryan North at Comic-Con, right? You bothered him.
Yeah.
You were
so
dressed
nice.
as Ryan North, right?
Yeah.
No. You were.
Luna was.
I was no.
You had
No,
the clipboard.
I was
He had the
Hussy.
clipboard. I was Ryan.
You were Hussy. So you
Cow.
were dressed as the people in the
Right,
creators.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're dressed as the creators.
Like that would be like me running around dressed as Robert Zemeckis. Like nobody would understand.
But they
like
It's a self-insert thing. They're characters in the comic, so it makes sense.
It makes sense because they exist in the comic
Yeah.
world. Okay, I get that. I totally get that. So Ryan North does he's in the Homestuck. Has he written the Homestuck at all or no?
He's writing the game.
He's right. He wrote the game with Hussy.
Now, you're gonna make me irritated because you go, he's writing the game, and the way you say it is like it's coming out next week.
They wrote the game already.
It's
He said last December he and Ryan got together for a full week and they wrote the game start to finish. It's solidified, and they're just working on development stuff.
I've written a dozen movie screenplays. That doesn't mean I'm making a movie. You guys really believe this game's coming out?
Yeah.
And that Ryan North and Andrew Hussey wrote it together, and that you're going to be able to one day buy it on Steam.
Yeah.
Is that what you believe?
Just a half hour ago, before we started this episode, Toby Radiation Fox, the guy who does most of the music for Homestuck, all the big ones, him and Powell do all the signature ones. He just put his game Undertale on Steam Greenlight, which means if it gets enough yeses, Valve will say, yeah, we'll license this game out on Steam. And they say yes to almost any junk. There's been total junk that's been accepted.
So the game's gonna make it.
And then Hussey retweeted that, so Hussey's fully for putting things on Steam Greenlight.
And that game's actually gonna have fan trolls in it.
Yeah.
From the Kickstarter.
It's going to have what in it?
Fan trolls.
Fan trolls.
People who make their own trolls.
Fan trolls people make. They make their own trolls.
And on the Homestuck Kickstarter for $10,000, Hussey would put your fan troll in the comic.
That's awfully pricey.
Well, no, that's the cheap one. They didn't pay $100,000. $100,000 means they'll live past 2 pages.
And was it $1 million, and they'll become the most important character?
Million to become the most important character in Homestuck.
And here's what I would have done. If I'd had a lot of disposable income, I would have bought the live past 2 pages option, which was how much?
$100,000, I think.
If I had the money, I would give him the $100,000. I would create my own troll, and I would name it Sean Bean, because he would live 2 pages further than what Sean Bean normally lived in every project that he's in. That's it. I would drop the mic and go, Sean Bean troll. Now, wait. I'm confused because the trolls are based off of the horoscope symbols.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you create another troll, what symbol does he get? All 12 are taken up.
These are fan trolls. They pull symbols out of anywhere.
Oh, come on. The trolls have a 1 through 12 system. How can you go? How can the 13th troll have a symbol like the
14th.
Nerdist symbol?
14th. There's 13.
What's the 13th?
Oh, Apicius? There's a real 13th zodiac, and it becomes the Cherub's logo.
Okay.
But 2 more fan trolls were added in because these people paid $10,000 each.
So 2 people, suckers, 2 people actually paid this money, $10,000,
Yes.
to have their creation put in the comic. Have we
Yes.
seen them yet?
Yes, they
Yes.
showed up.
They did show
They were
up.
in one page, and then in the second page, there were skeletons laying on the floor.
Oh my
So they're being
god.
burnt alive.
You can buy a poster off them off What Pumpkin.
Yeah, but the 10,000 goes far because now there's prints of them. They're in all the fan projects.
But the person who created doesn't see a dime of that.
We don't know.
I'd assume they'd get money for the art prints.
I would assume so too, because apparently 20th Century Fox gets a cut for every How Do I Live album that
yeah,
sells.
they do their stuff to give people credit.
Does that mean Disney gets a cut too from all the Con Air merchandise?
Maybe.
What Con Air merchandise?
Well, they do covers of How Do I Live.
Yeah, there's a
and
How Do I Live cover in one of the albums.
Paradox Space, they do a Con Air parody comic. Paradox Space makes money from
Yeah,
advertising.
But they haven't published that yet. If they ever publish it, maybe they will. Maybe they'll get off on fair use.
How old did you say? Oh, you didn't. Do we know how old Hussey was?
35.
35. So, oh boy, here we go. If he's 35 in 2004, is that what you're saying?
No, he's 35 this year.
This year in 2015.
Yeah.
So he was born in 1980.
79.
79. Okay. All right. So it doesn't really hold water because Con Air was 97. He would have been 18.
Yeah.
I was looking for that magical 13 thing.
That would
It
be.
was Never-Ending Story.
That's Hussey's favorite childhood movie.
Oh, it's like
And Hook.
no, Never-Ending Story is like 84. Hook is
Okay.
90. Hooky would have been 10 or 11. That's getting closer. Getting closer. Like 93, 92, his favorite movies, if you go by that formula, should be Batman Returns, Jurassic Park, Last Action Hero, that sort of thing.
No.
No, you're nodding no.
Short Circuit. Ghost Dad.
No, that Ghost Dad's 90, Short
Ghostbusters
Circuit's
2.
86,
Armageddon.
Ghostbusters 2
2
is 89. Armageddon's 98. See, you guys know Homestuck. I know stupid movie years they were released. I'm not looking at the internet while I do that. Yeah, you're not impressed. I can tell.
Why do you bother to store this information? Like when Armageddon was released, you gotta have this written down.
Because if you really want the answer, it's because, and this is veering off of Homestuck, when I was a kid, there was a TV show called Remington Steele, and Pierce Brosnan played a private eye who no one was sure what his story was, what his back history was. But he would always do these things where he would quote a movie, and then he would go, MGM Pictures 1935. And I just was like, well, that's the coolest thing ever. If I learn to do that, I get a lot of chicks because that's suave. Now, I'm not Pierce Brosnan. So when I do it, I sound like the biggest dork in the world, and it actually repels women. When a woman goes, oh, Armageddon, I go, Armageddon, Touchstone Pictures, 1998. And they go, what's wrong with you? They don't go, oh, no, nothing like that. Nothing like that. Okay, so we were rounding back up. Hey, let's take it real quick. We got a bunch of reviews on our iTunes page, which we really love iTunes reviews because if you go on iTunes and you like the show, please give us a review, 91 Reasons, because there's some weird formula that iTunes uses, and you can get featured on the front page if you get enough good reviews. I don't think it's based on downloads alone. I think it's a combination of the downloads and your iTunes reviews, and they sort of extrapolate some number that tells you how popular you are. So I don't know. But we did get some nice reviews from, in December 6th, somebody named Peculiar, but the E is a 3, so P3 Culiar. Peculiar says, came for Homestuck, stayed for the high-quality content. I'll be sure to download from now on. Also, you now have 2 people who downloaded from China. That's a guy in China
Wow.
listening to our show. That is really, really cool. And then we have a guy who says his name is Check the Review, but the is spelled wrong. So Check the Review says, Reddit told me I was on the Homestuck subreddit when I saw a link to this podcast, and what an excellent podcast. I would love to hear more. That's fantastic.
We also gotta thank the Reddit.
Yeah.
Yeah, the people of Reddit. I know, Luna, you post the link to the episodes on Reddit, and then you sort of monitor the feed to see what
Yeah.
people are talking about. And somebody, you remember what somebody gave you a nice compliment on there? They said, you have a sexy voice.
yeah.
And then they said, wiggles eyebrows.
Little rose emoticon.
Yeah. Now, this guy's great. He says the show is fantastic, and for some reason he wrote, just watch it.
Just watch it.
So, his name is NYTGGHGFFGJKKKK, and he left that review for us on Christmas Day.
On Christmas Day.
So, Mr. Nigik, we want to thank you for your review. But, you know, we're not certain what exactly you're watching. As this is an audio-only podcast, we might be concerned for you if you are seeing us somehow. Either A, you work for the NSA, and that's not good. Somehow you've managed to commandeer the webcam on our computer, and that's not good. Or the final one is you're on some really good drugs, and that's really not good. But I'm hopefully, if you are seeing us, I appear as Pierce Brosnan. Who would you like to appear as, Austin?
Can I say a fictional character?
Of course.
Car Cat Ventures.
Car Cat Ventures. And how about you, Luna?
I don't know.
But we love it. There's another one here that says, this guy's name is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
It's
8.
It's a Whisker Happy Face
No,
sideways.
7, 8.
7
Oh.
8s and 1, 2, 3, 7D. So 8 8 8 8 8 8 8 8 D D D D D D D says came for the Homestuck, stayed for the people.
Woo!
We're the people.
Yeah, us.
We the people. So we want to thank that. Then that review just came in last week. So if you want to see exactly what we're talking about, you can go on the 91 Reasons iTunes page. You click on customer ratings and reviews, and then scroll down to the bottom, and you can actually play along with us as we thank and 8D and check te review. And it sounds like we're making fun, but we're not. We're actually very humbled and happy that you're taking time to review us. So the more reviews we get, obviously the better listings we get, and we won't have days like this where, as you can tell, we're kind of swimming around topics, looking for things. So I actually have a question I want to bring up to you guys and see where it takes us. When you guys first got into Homestuck, there were some things that you said that made me compare, and you're going to hate this, it made me compare the Homestuck fandom to other fandoms such as Supernatural
Oh no.
and Twilight.
Why would you say this?
Because you're constantly talking. Now, don't erupt until I finish my thought, because I know you're going to erupt. You're constantly talking about shipping, which is not taking things to the post office, but is instead shipping is short for relationshipping, where you are taking two characters and imagining them as romantic companions, correct?
Yes.
So I didn't understand it when your mother went through this stupid Twilight phase where she went and saw these movies over and over again, and they had shirts on that were like Team Edward, Team Jacob, Team Switzerland, which means you're no team. And I didn't understand it because the books are already written. Bella has already chosen Edward as her husband, her dead husband. So how can you feel strongly one way or another about who she's going to pick if she's already picked? It's no, you can't come in. No, you have to come over and get on the mic then.
I just have to say, you're not choosing. We've already read the books. We know how good the books are. I didn't even like the movies, but I still needed to go show who I chose, who I supported throughout my story, because that's what it was to me. Those are amazing books, and I never will deny loving those books. The movies suck. Not my fault. I didn't cast them.
So when you wear a Team Edward shirt, you're not saying that Bella should be with Edward. You're saying you just like Edward.
Yes, that's my character. Just like they all have characters in Homestuck.
Boy, they have pulled the wool over everybody's eyes with this, man. Because I'm telling you, that's what it's about. It's about shipping. Shipping's this big thing.
Yeah.
The brothers in Supernatural are shipped together. The brothers in Supernatural.
They even Rose were
That's
canon.
unnatural. You can't ship brother and sister. So take me through this. You read the comic. You like the characters, and you guys are constantly talking about different ships you're going to do.
Yeah. Well,
what does that mean?
Homestuck-
Walk me through it.
Homestuck's special because it has 4 types of love, and that's not counting the leprechaun jumps.
But it's I don't know, it's a thing. How do you explain that?
The 2 characters, I don't know how to explain it. It's like...
Well, okay, you don't have to explain it. I'll ask you. Like, I watch Star Wars, right? We always knew that Luke had a crush on Leia. And at the very end, it's like, no, they're brother and sister. So she's like, well, I'll pick Han. Why not? He's the only other man in the universe, apparently. I never sat down and tried to come up with storylines that involved Luke and Leia getting together. Or Leia and Chewbacca, or Leia and Bosk, or Leia and Lando.
And those are all real things out there
I
somewhere.
know, but see, like, you guys sit around and all you do is mix and match these characters. And like, what are you looking for? Are you like trying to put yellow and blue together to make green? Like, what's the end goal?
I don't think I have any sips not directly mentioned in canon. The main reason why I sip the sips I sip is because I love how well they're developed in canon, and the 2 characters talk together so
A
well.
lot of it goes back to Blade Kind with Romspec. He started that whole thing.
Oh.
Where he was trying to use the relationships as a way of guessing what's going to happen next in the comic. And it's a joke to use it now because it's so diluted with all the shipping stuff now.
Like, I just imagine, like, one of those flow charts where there's, like, 3 people on the top and then a line down and then 2 people, and the line's like, well, they're together and they're together, and then they begat this and they begat that. Like, it just seems really complicated that instead of a family tree, you guys want them to have a family wreath where it circles back on each other and everybody's related and nobody's separate. Like, that's too weird. It's weird to me. I think it must be because you guys, your generation has grown up in an era where you take a picture, and if you don't like the way it looks, you can take another picture, or you can take the picture that you took, and you go into Photoshop, and you can change everything about it. So you live in a world where everything's programmable, everything's customizable, right? Mm-hmm. So if you don't like the way the story's going in your head canon, right, you just make up what you think it should happen. And you sit there and you stare off into space and go, la, 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 la. And the story's unfolding the way you want it to. But that's bizarre because in my books, you can't ship the main character, Josie, with anybody but Cameron. There's nobody else to ship her with because my universe is not populated with as many characters that are interchangeable as the Homestuck universe.
Yeah.
So I think out of all the different fandoms that practice shipping, Twilight, Shades of Grey, Supernatural, the Disney universes, whatever, Anna, Elsa, I don't care. It seems like they're so limited in their character choices. Like, you can't ship Ariel and Sebastian. He's a freaking crab. But I'm sure there's a web page that exists where they're like, well, Ariel got crab somehow. But it seems as if Homestuck was, as if by accident, Andrew Hussey stumbled onto this idea that I'll give them so many characters that if they don't like the way the story is unfolding that I'm doing, they will come up with stuff on their own. It's almost like choose your own adventure to the nth degree.
Yeah. He even came up with Doomed Selves, which is a way of creating alternate characters. He says that...
Looking just at the base characters, just if they appear in the little chibi mode and they're a main character, there's a total of 50. And
50 characters.
50 characters with no canonized, very much looks or sexuality or anything like that. They're all interchangeable to whatever you want.
And you're talking about not only relationship-wise, but each of the trolls can be assigned whatever gender you decide.
Troll Society gender roles, but it doesn't have sexual roles. So the trolls just kind of go whatever.
It doesn't
It
matter.
doesn't matter on their world.
So they're kind of like sorority sisters after a few wine coolers. Whatever happens, right?
The only thing gender does is pronouns. Now, people draw the gold trolls with female bodies and the male trolls with male bodies, but Hussey does not.
He's mentioned one joke about it, and they're about to explain it all. And another character just shut him up, like, don't do that. We're not supposed to talk about that.
Yeah, that's part of the joke, right?
Yeah.
That's what keeps you reading.
Yeah, he's never gonna
Every
explain
once in a
troll
while,
anatomy.
Something slips out, but other than that, it's just whatever you think.
What's troll anatomy? What's not known?
Anything. Every sentence Carcat says, he's got a new curse word it mentions some part of the troll body that's brand new to learn about. And we're like, what does this mean?
Just last night, he said, what is it, flap sniffer?
A flap licker.
Flap
I've never
licker.
heard that word in 9,000 pages, but trolls apparently have flaps somewhere.
And that's a derogatory term, flap licker.
Oh my God.
Like bone nook.
Bone nook?
Yeah, that's a cuss
They
word
have
Carcat
bones,
uses.
nooks, bulges, flaps, seed pouches, food shoots, and oh God, it's just
Angle glands.
Look how fast you rattled off all those crazy
Oh,
things.
look.
You're laughing at me for knowing when movies come
don't
out.
understand.
Come on.
When I roleplay, I have the MSPA page of troll slang, and I just try to use as much of it as possible.
Rattle off some slang for us.
Well, you got the Droskoffer, you got the lawn wing, you got the think pan, load gaper, Wakoopacoon,
Wakoopacoon.
Westbite block.
This is the greatest conversation we've ever had on this show. Keep going.
Just last night, Carcat finally said the troll word for beans. They're fart niblets.
He said, "Oh, right, so let's spill the fault niblets here instead of spill the beans."
And you knew right away what he was talking about.
It took a minute. It took a minute.
Yeah.
We were trying to
I can't believe
fart niblets.
Hussey, when writing Carcat, just sits around trying to think of the slang.
He probably has a notepad, just writes it down. He's like, I'll get
Yeah.
that in some way. Ooh, fart niblet. I got to use that.
Lawn wing.
Lawn wing?
Lawn ring.
Lawn ring.
A yard. A front yard is a lawn ring.
A lawn ring. Okay. LAWN, you're saying.
Yes.
Okay. What else?
A two-wheeled village device. We can't figure out what it means, but apparently your romance can be like a two-wheeled village device.
Maybe the only thing that comes to mind when you say that is a bicycle.
Why is romance like a bicycle? Why is it a bad thing that your romance is going to end up like a bicycle?
Because if you don't balance it right, it'll fall. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's used a few times, and I've never got it.
Because
it took me 2,000 pages to figure out what a think pan is.
Think pan is like your brain.
Yeah, your brain.
Yeah.
A think pan.
But I only know that because you think with your brain, and your brain is located in your brain pan of your head. See, sometimes outside information helps. Plus, it also helps when you're thinking about something like that to understand the author. And since you understand Hussey so well, you can extrapolate what he's trying to say.
And then he jokes on that sometimes, like, the troll word for Will Smith is Troll Will Smith.
What does that even mean?
Troll Will Smith.
They have Troll Smith. He's one of the most famous movie stars in Artonia.
And I'm sure Hussey likes only the worst of the worst of the Will Smith movies. Right?
It's Carcat, so only rom-coms.
Like Hitch.
I don't know though. All the names are new Alternian names.
Oh, okay. So they're all disguised or something.
They're all in alien gibberish.
Alternians have had movies for thousands of years, so they've run out of titles. So movies in which the main protagonist and the main sidekick go to the store and fight the bad guy here and do this, and there are exactly 37 chuckle moments.
Well, you laugh, but we're not far from that. How many not another teen movie, scary movie, date movie, epic movie, disaster movie? I mean, those two idiots have written all that crap, and they basically just name it exactly what it is. I mean, it should be just named Fart Joke. 90 minutes. What is it in Grand Theft Auto? An hour and a half of banging trash can lids? There's something to be said about truth in advertising. If somebody told me, we're going to go see that movie this summer. Oh, what's it called? It's called Giant Lizard Screws All Your Childhood Memories. Oh, Godzilla! Awesome! Which one? Both. 98 and this one. Junk, man. I would love... are you kidding? Truth in advertising with movies would be the greatest. I'm trying to think, like, what's a movie that's come out recently? Like, you went and saw Fault in Our Stars, and it was advertised as a romantic comedy, but it was anything but.
Yeah. It wasn't even, like, it was so bad. I want my money back. I want my 2 hours back. I'm disappointed.
You guys went thinking it was going to be this big moment, like this is a movie, a very special movie for your generation. She's got cancer, but she's not going to let that keep her down. She's going to travel all the way to Anne Frank's house and make out with a guy, while everyone who watches does this.
It's even better.
The slow 80s clap. Yeah.
And then they start cheering.
Why do they cheer? Who cheers when people make out? That's disturbing.
It is disturbing.
Straight people with the cancer are kissing in Anne Frank's bedroom.
They should be thrown out, not exalted. The truth in our, we got kicked out of Anne Frank's house for snogging. That's what the movie should have been called. But that chick's like a big star. I mean, that's the same girl from Divergent, right? Mm-hmm. Another post-apocalyptic dystopian young girl must defy what she's categorized to save the odds. I mean, how many of those are they going to make? Do they ever make fun of any, like I know Hussey makes fun of Armageddon and Con Air. Does he ever do any recent current movies?
No, that's...
Most of the comic takes place in 2009. So
they can't reference...
At one point, we cut back to mid-2000s, and one character's... He's so excited it's Jake English. He's so excited the Avatar is going to come out. It's going to be the greatest movie ever. and his friend from the future's like, it's not that good. It's not that good. Don't get your hopes up.
Dances with Blue Wolves. Avatar.
Other than some of Jake English's stuff, there's not any recent. Because he has all the recent stuff on his wall, and then only talks about Weekend at Bernie's.
That's from 1989, you guys. That's a long time ago.
National Treasure gets a few.
That's a little more recent. Yeah. I mean, it's still like 2000.
Tomb Raider.
The early
Tomb Raider.
Hulk.
Yeah, Jake English loves Tomb Raider.
Jake English is obsessed with adventuring and blue people.
A lot of Tomb Raider references.
All right, so hold on. Okay, so we talked about our reviews, and along those same lines, I have to ask you, Luna. Somebody took you to task on Reddit for your Lord English extrapolations and said that some of the stuff you were talking about was not canon, which means that they're listening intently, which we thank you for that. But also, I don't know the comic well at all. That's why I'm the perfect host, because I'm exploring it with you guys. You're leading me through it. Were you, in fact, using non-canonical items in your canonical display of your information?
I was up pretty on good with the comic. If we're not looking, I was pretty spot on. And I linked it. I went on there and linked him to 10 different pages in the comic of everything I explained. And all he posted back was the wiki page saying that's not right. The wiki says otherwise.
But the wiki can be changed by anybody.
Yeah.
We all know that Wikipedia is not what you should be doing your book reports on.
This is the Homestuck wiki, not the Wikipedia. This is the Homestuck wiki.
Yeah, so it's probably even more susceptible to people screwing around.
The problem is that the wiki says Caliborn, who's the cherub, is going to grow up and get big and buff and wear the Lord English coat and say he's Lord English. Though in the comic, Caliborn picks up the puppet, puts part of his soul in the puppet. The puppet then gets alchemized with a Q-bar to create a character who becomes Lord English. Yeah. Lord English is only part of the Caliborn soul, which was put into a puppet and then turned into Lord English.
And the wiki just says Lord English is a grown-up version of Caliborn.
But that's not true.
The whole wiki.
They can exist at the same time because they're not the same person.
Yeah. I haven't digged it up yet. I've been meaning to. Arania mentions in the page that there are multiple versions of Lord English, different instances she uses. There's different instances of him in different universes. And we've only seen 3 so far. Caliborn, Union Jack, and Lord English.
Because Union Jack is another character who technically is Lord English, because he puts part of his soul into a puppet, which then gets turned into a monster.
There's half Q-Ball Lord English, there's half Jack Lord English, and then there's Caliborn Lord English.
But a lot of people go, Caliborn's gonna go up and become the one puppet that gets possessed. Yeah. And they completely forget about the other one.
That's mostly people who have been around the comic a long time. So to them, Act 5 was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
4 years ago. So they, it's just...
Are you saying they're not remembering it properly? You're trying to be polite about it? It's okay to be right if you're citing your sources. You can't apologize for actually being on target.
And
We appreciate that person listening. We're not trying to degrade them or bring
Yeah.
them down. We're just saying that maybe the ultimate source should be the comic and not be
Not the wiki, yeah.
the wiki, because the wiki is updatable by the fans, correct?
Yeah.
So you
Anyone
never know
can
what
edit.
you're going to get. You know, there are people who, on the regular Wikipedia, wait for the moment some celebrity dies so they can update the page to say that they're dead. And they, like, all rush to it like ghouls.
Yeah.
So I'm sure in the Homestuck arena there are people who are like, let's screw with people. Because if I put it on the wiki, then my headcanon becomes canon.
Because a lot of people, rather than doing an entire reread of all 9,000 pages, because that is a huge task, just go over the wiki and read some of the
Going
articles.
around Tumblr, someone said it was a picture of Andrew Hussey's Wikipedia page. And it said, oh, look, that has his age, 34 to 35 years old, which is right. And then someone else reblogged it and put Andrew Hussey. They had edited the page to say age like 92. And then someone below them, age older than the universe itself, even before God existed. There was always the Hussey.
What do you think he thinks about that kind of weird
He's mentioned it on
adulation?
Twitter, actually.
He mentioned that on Twitter. It was in response. It wasn't 90. It was 50. Someone changed it to make him look old. And Hussey went on this long Twitter rant about how his fans think he's 50 now.
Because someone edited the wiki. See, even
That's so
Hussey says to
bizarre.
not trust the wiki.
Like, that's so bizarre. Think about what that says about our society, that you can put a false statement on the internet, but because it's in glowing text on your screen, you accept it as fact. Like, that's a scary thought, like, that perception of reality can be altered so easily, and Hussey can, as a young man, overnight, because somebody gets a joke, be 50 years old, and he's not anywhere
Yeah,
near 50.
yeah.
I saw the guy. There's no way that guy's 50. He's a young man, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's bizarre. But how come they can't update that wiki with, like, a picture of his wife and go, here she is. I saw her at Taco Bell.
No one's. seen
Somebody's got to be able to. All you have to do is, if you meet Hussey, stop staring into his eyes for a second and look to the right or left. If there's a woman standing there that's not a million years old, it might be his wife, and took a picture.
Yeah. There's the one on his Twitter where he's at a dock, and there's some weird guy in a sombrero and then a girl. That might be her.
Now, you've shown me that picture,
Yeah.
yes. You said
That might be her.
You
There's
showed
no
me.
context, but he's on a pier with a.
He's obviously
this weird guy.
He's
and
on
got her
vacation
there.
somewhere.
Yeah.
And you don't normally go on vacation alone. You have to go with somebody, otherwise it's very boring. So either he took the guy in the sombrero or the
Yeah,
girl. If
yeah.
he took the girl, it's got to be his wife, right?
I guess, yeah. And then I have another page I'm meaning to track down. If you wait till the end of the Flash, there's a picture of him standing in a new shirt that was just on sale. And then next to him is another girl in the same shirt, and she's got, like, they both got, like, Groucho glasses on with the fake eyes. So you can't even tell it's them. But she might be her. She might be Cindy Juice. She might be the girl who designed the shirt. We don't know.
That's bizarre that, like, when we saw him at Shifty Look, you were too new to the fandom to, like, look around, like, who is he going?
Yeah.
Who is he leaving with? Like, that would have been the perfect opportunity,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If that ever comes up again, you got to stop being starstruck long enough to watch the guy. I mean, that's what I do. I'm a weirdo. Like, I don't get starstruck, so I look at things people don't normally look at and try to find the details. Like, what's going on? Who are they on the phone with? I can figure this out.
We weren't as much starstruck when we went to YNO's podcast, and the whole audience was me, Luna, and Hussey.
That was the whole audience.
Yeah, people listening around the world are like, oh my God.
Yeah, if you went to Ryan North's podcast, because we like Ryan North, we want to do his podcast at Sifty Look, the whole audience was me, Luna, and Andrew Hussey were the only ones sitting there listening
Did
to
you
him.
ever download that episode? Can you hear yourself on it?
I think it's somewhere in the Shifty Look live stream. They didn't release that as its own
Oh,
thing.
right, yeah, because
I
they were
don't know if those are
constantly
still up, but
sending stuff
Rather
out.
than do blocks, they just said we're 12-hour streaming all day. Do whatever.
So
we're
you have to
doing
skip
whatever.
around the 12 hour
Oh, come
stream.
on, Shifty Look. Chop it up and let your
Yeah.
fans have only the
There's
parts that they
a
need.
lot
That's
of
very...
Homestuck cosplayers they interviewed for their cosplay and stuff, and people were like, well, open up the 12-hour stream, see if I can find myself.
That's ridiculous. That's not fair to the fans.
They sort of cut it down to one best of interview is Wyatt North's podcast, Hussey signing footage.
Yeah, and 12 hours, that's crazy.
Yeah.
This was 4 days.
Over 4 days.
And remember, you're going to have to watch 5 hours of nothing happening and people just playing 80s arcade games as Homestucks walk around.
Yeah.
Hoping that your interview's going to show up at one
You
point.
might walk by at some point.
But I'm guessing you guys would watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do I know?
I want to see. I haven't seen it, but they got the live stream of when a bunch of celebrities all showed up at once. Hussey was there signing, and you know who sits down next to him on his right?
I have no idea.
What's his name? Clark Gregg. Phil
Coulson.
Agent Phil. Agent Coulson.
Agent Coulson from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yes.
Yeah.
He sits down next to Hussey.
Because he's a big Homestuck fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He passed Hussey his book to sign, and then Wheel of Fine brought over some Avengers T-shirts for him to sign.
How can he be a home? That's so bizarre that he likes Homestuck. That's so weird.
And then out of nowhere,
Brian Lee O'Malley.
Brian Lee O'Malley
Creator of Scott Pilgrim.
comes up. The creator of Scott Pilgrim, and he didn't walk up like Phil Coulson. He doesn't have that status.
Yeah.
But he actually waited in line with everyone.
Yeah. It's just like the creator of Scott Pilgrim is in line with all the Homestuck cosplayers.
Hussey made him fight 12 of Hussey's evil exes to get to meet him.
Ryan North.
Yeah, all the exes.
Cindy,
There you go.
Sydney. Oh. Tahid.
Tahid.
So let me ask you, did it take some of the wind out of your sails meeting him that early? Like, would you like to meet him now that you've read
I
it?
think
and
I would.
Yeah,
you think
I know him.
you'd
I
get
knew
more
his
out of
comics,
it?
but I didn't really know him at that point.
Right, it was
Yeah.
very new. Like you guys have the charm life that if you're into something, you normally get to meet them somehow because of all the cons we go to or the theme park world that we live in, right?
Yeah.
That's so crazy. If you could meet Hussey today, like what would you want to ask him? Other than, is that your wife over there?
If he remembers me for anything, I've messed with him so many times now. I've been multiple Twitter accounts messing with him. I've made a few. Just
ask him one thing.
Uh-huh.
Ask him, are you directly referencing my fan adventure or not? Because it seems like you are.
In my fan adventure, I did a joke, and then literally like 2-3 days later, Homestuck updated, and it was my thing in it.
Really?
Yeah.
This happens a lot,
Do this go,
actually.
hmm.
A lot of the time, you'll make a gag in your fan events, or some weird meta gag.
And then Hussey will do it.
And then Hussey will do it. The exact same gag.
A few times I know it's been just coincidence because he's written some of this stuff in advance. So the last act, there's no way he could have lined it up, but I still managed to do it first, then he did it on a few things.
Means you think like Hussey.
Well, let me ask you, as a guy who's seen, like, I've seen my movie scripts turn into movies, and I know that they made the rounds. Part of me is upset, like, I should have been paid for that. That's my movie. And part of me is like, that's my movie that they stole. They thought it was so good, they stole it. Is that where do you fall on that?
For Homestuck, it's a good thing to make
You've
it
got to
in.
be
Yeah.
flattered.
Because-
People paid $10,000 for their troll to appear on a single page, and then
Yeah.
as like Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru Bones.
Yeah.
You didn't pay a dime.
Here I am tweeting with him.
Hussey's-
We have full Twitter conversations.
Hussey said on his news post that the fandom fuels it still.
Yeah.
That's why he referenced Caliborn in the past act.
Caliborn did some fan art of the comic, and Hussey just blatantly copied this guy's old fan art from like 2011.
On
He's like,
DeviantArt.
okay, I don't know who this guy is. It's from 2011, so I'm not gonna be able to contact him. I'm just gonna reference him in the comic. Puts the update out. Hour later, this guy's yelling that Hussey copied him. The entire fandom's yelling at Hussey that he would steal someone's art.
And this guy's
So
sort of
Hussey wrote up a little
yeah.
news thing on the front page saying about it and giving full credit to the artist and all that.
Well, that's very nice.
And then it was snipped because Hussey has no archive for his news posts. He just deletes them when he needs to.
And then it's gone forever.
Yeah.
We have fan archives.
Yeah,
We
you
have
guys.
ways.
Well, that's a life lesson. I mean, they always are telling you, your generation, whatever you do on the internet will live forever. Even if it's only up for a second,
Yeah.
somebody's going to get a
Well-
screen grab of it.
Paradox Space makes typos sometimes.
A lot. They make it a lot.
And other than screen capping it and saving it, we haven't found a good way of archiving it. Even Wayback Machine that's supposed to automatically archive websites, pictures get changed even on old archives of the website. We don't know how they're doing it.
How is that possible?
All the sites the pictures are saved on one server and the site saved on another. So the site just says load picture from here.
Yeah.
All right. So if you change if you change the source where it's grabbing it from, then it would change.
From now on, we're gonna have to archive them from the source of the picture and save that.
But you gotta archive every page because it's more than just a typo. Because just a few weeks ago, they changed a page. They literally changed the entire page to have a new context.
Yeah.
You guys keep saying we. Like, are you part of the fandom archivists? Are you sitting around wasting your time saving each morsel pixel of Homestuck?
I do a lot of I save a lot of Hussy's Twitter. I screen cap his Twitter all the time and post it on Tumblr. He doesn't like it when I do that.
Yeah, he called you
for doing that.
He called you a clown lord because you're reposting all his stuff.
And then now my new thing is to run Paradox Space to Wayback Machine because of all the recent stuff. But it hasn't been working. They've been beating me.
We missed that Fafui page.
Yeah, he put hand instead of had.
Oh, that N makes all the difference.
In the Christmas comic, they gave Fafui as one of the Christmas gifts as a joke, because Trolls Christmas is supposed to walk in a way where they give each other bad gifts. And they gave
so it's like having your grandma
buckets full of troll genetic material.
No. It was buckets full of chalk.
But nobody.
Her house is underwater, so the chalk liquidates and it turns into the.
Everyone thought it was.
Everyone thought it was not safe for work.
Ew.
So they changed it.
Now she carries a little box of chalk that melts into the water.
Yeah.
Because the bucket full of chalk.
Yeah, no, that's very wrong.
Yeah.
That's very, very wrong.
That's the joke. They changed the joke.
But they said they want to keep it kid friendly.
No, they don't. They said that the first few months, then they gave up.
See, now you understand. Now you understand the frustration of Greedo shooting first.
Yeah.
Of Lucas going, no, it was always meant. It was always meant to be that way.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, it wasn't. No, I know what the original was because I saved it. I've got it on VHS. Thank you very much.
White rapper, Caucasian.
Those are all things.
Now it's
Damar without horns.
Damar without horns. The Handmaid without horns. I think Eridan's still missing his horns in a page.
Hasino fixed it. Quick, archive that page.
So screen grab it and tweet it to him and go, hey, Clown Lord, fix the page.
Yeah, I think it's Vriska's ghost army. They show like a sea of trolls that she's commanding. One Eridan doesn't have horns.
And that drives everyone crazy.
I'll have to check if he ever went back and fixed that.
But what if he wrote a whole storyline that involved the reason that's not there and actually makes sense?
I'm sure someone in Paradox Space will do that.
Right. All right, well...
Equius's horn, it's broken in the comic. And I think it's Paradox Space they wanted to provide an origin to how it broke. Well, now it's a joke. Every time Equius appears in a Paradox Space comic, they break his horn off.
Yeah, now it's a thing. Yeah.
There's 10 different ways he broke his horn.
And if you look at some of the greatest creative works of the last century, you'll find that most of the things that we think are the greatest were complete accidents. Like the idea that the people who create these things have them all wrapped up to the nth degree is not true.
No.
Like in Return of the Jedi, when Luke is hiding under the broken bridge and Vader is stalking him, and he says, in the script it says, Vader says something that upsets Luke. Mm-hmm. That's all it says. And they had to go, well, what if Vader says he's going to turn Leia to the dark side? So you have a twin sister. Like, that's a big moment in the movie to be left for on the day of the shooting to figure out what he's supposed to say. Like, it's amazing. Like, you and I, when we sit and come up with these projects and stuff, we plan them out to the nth degree. But real Hollywood productions do not do that. Look at Con Air. They didn't even have a script. They were making it up as they went along on the set.
And the movie was somewhat coherent?
Somewhat coherent. It's still bug-esque crazy in some places and completely illogical. Like when it's pulling the Corvette through the air and the Corvette's literally floating in the air.
Yeah.
The car wouldn't float, okay? It's a 2,000-pound automobile. It would drag. It's called gravity. No matter any kind of lift you put on it, it's not going to gently float on the breeze. So we're willing to accept the flaws of these creations because we get so much enjoyment out of them that to sit and pick them apart would be to ruin it. People who sit I always am accused of taking apart movies all day and all night, but I only do it to the movies I love because I want to understand them more, make them better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if they ever make a Homestuck movie, who do you cast as John Egbert?
You said
Someone did a really good photo edit of Logan Lerman, the Percy Jackson guy. It looked really good.
You mentioned Michael Cera to be trying
Michael
to put.
Cera, because
Okay.
that has in-comic stuff.
Sure, it's got
There's
Pilgrim.
Michael Cera hanging on his wall.
Okay, so let's do this. For next week's episode, you guys each come up with, and don't share them, the perfect Homestuck cast, including all the trolls, as much as you want to go in, obviously.
Yeah.
But like, come up with somebody to play Andrew Hussey, and we'll regroup and we'll share that list with the world because they can think about it too, and they can yell at their device as they hear our picks, and I'll even come up with my own. I'll even come up with my own. Spoiler alert: I'm gonna have Owen Wilson as Sweet Bro and Hella
That's
Jeff.
canon.
I know, because it's
That's what
canon.
Hussey did.
Listen, dude, I warned you about the stairs,
Hussey's
bro.
fan-cast.
I warned you. I told you, dog.
And Ben Stiller's Hella Jeff.
Yeah, so think about that. Any last things before we wrap up?
Could it be animated?
Anybody you want?
I mix up their names.
Anything you want?
If I have a
Animated.
Homestuck series, I want to be animated and look like the comic. Not in the sprite mode style, but in the hero mode style.
Miyazaki presents Homestuck.
I thought he retired 10 times.
All right, and Pixar. Pixar presents WALL-E 2, Homestuck. That's where WALL-E lands on a planet, and it's all been turned into
What
Homestuck.
can we name Homestuck that it's just an adjective?
Oh, like up?
And Brave.
Oh, brave.
Frozen.
It's
Stuck.
called awkward.
Stuck. Awkward. Very fitting.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to wrap up this episode. We want to thank you for listening. Thank you to all of our listeners around the world. We are humbled and honored that you've decided to go along on this journey with us. The best way to support the show, like I said at the beginning or in the middle, is to go on iTunes and leave us a review. We also have a Patreon page, patreon.com, where you can look up 91 Reasons and pledge as little as $1 a month just to support. It all goes toward hosting the show on websites and hopefully one day buying enough microphones that we don't have to share. But you never know what the future holds, right? But we have a Patreon page. You can find 91 Reasons and like us on Facebook, where we always are putting up photos. We are hoping to go to a really fun event on Friday where they're going to have a lot of vintage arcade games, which is fun because it'll be like a little warm-up to the con season, right? Mm-hmm. A little warm-up before we hit the ground running with WonderCon in April, where we will be there to support my book, The Sixth Key, and this show, 91 Reasons. And we hope to meet all of the Homestuck fans who have traveled and journeyed to Anaheim for WonderCon. And then absolutely, we'll all be there. You guys will be in full Homestuck regalia for Comic-Con 2015 in San Diego. Are you looking forward to that? Looking forward to IHOP Stuck? This time it's personal part 2.
Yeah.
All right, so if you're a Homestuck, if you're listening, you got to look for us, because if you find us at WonderCon or at Comic-Con, Austin and Luna will both have their limited edition, unbelievably cool Homestuck business cards that they will hand out. That's a collectible that will be heirloom in your family for generations to come, worth at least, I'm not kidding, like 2 or 3 cents. Like, no joke, like 2 or 3 cents, like really cool. And if you ask nicely, they will sign it for you. If you ask rudely, they will both sign it for you. So for our big show, signing off for this week, we're going to be back next week with our Homestuck movie picks. Yes, I cannot wait. Continuing the tradition I used to read about in Wizard magazine, where they would cast comic books. We're going to cast the Homestuck movie. I am the voice of 91 Reasons. I am Jeff Tucker.
I'm Austin.
I'm Luna.
And who are you, ma'am?
I'm Mom.
Mom Stuck. And together we are 91 Reasons.
Thanks for listening to 91 Reasons. Please subscribe and leave a review on iTunes. Find us on Facebook. Is anyone even still listening?